welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason, and this week I'll be customising this Hot Wheels DeLorean. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to say that the wheels I've chosen for this build are accurate to the real DeLoreans, but when they're on the car, they're much too large. At the time of recording, only one supplier was producing these, and they've since removed all items from their eBay store. I'll probably revisit this once I get a more appropriately sized 3D printed set. With that disclaimer out of the way, let's get on with the build. Hot Wheels introduced their DeLorean in 2010. The debut model was Metallic Silver, with gold, black and redesigned silver castings following it, before the red arrived, like mine. It appeared in the Premium Boulevard series in 2012 with a clear-coated zamac body. They did the same with it in 2023, but gave it Minilite style wheels, which looked all kinds of wrong. Also, while the coated zamac looked okay, I felt it didn't quite capture the brushed aluminium of the real DeLorean. That's the main thing I wanted to do today. I thought Tamiya's Metallic Silver would provide a reasonable brushed effect purely from the way it has dried for me in the past. In 2015, the casting was retooled, with the transparency now receiving a window opening. The first retooled model was painted red and received the same tampos as the 1981 generic Turismo model. The DeLorean Motor Company had given Mattel the verbal go-ahead to recreate the DeLorean back in 1978 when it was at the prototype phase. However, DMC decided against allowing Mattel to produce the model despite molds and samples having been created. As a result, the existing tooling was modified to alter the car's appearance so that it was no longer officially a DeLorean. The history of the DeLorean Motor Company is a well-fabled and fascinating story told in a huge number of documentaries. There isn't enough time for me to completely immerse you in the short but turbulent life of the business, but I'll do what I can. John DeLorean was an American automobile executive who worked at Chrysler and then General Motors. He managed the development of the Pontiac GTO, Firebird and Grand Prix, and the Chevrolet Cosworth Vega before leaving to set up his own company. His first prototype vehicle was the DeLorean safety vehicle, first seen in 1976. It was planned to be powered by a Wankel rotary engine, then a Ford V6, then a 2-litre inline-4 engine from Citroën. Eventually, a 2.85-litre Peugeot Renault Volvo V6 was chosen. This choice meant the engine had to move from being mid-mounted to the rear. Development shifted focus away from being a safety vehicle to more conventional methods after Colin Chapman of Lotus Cars became involved. Keen to create jobs in Northern Ireland, the British government funded much of the start-up costs. Construction of DMC's factory in Dunmurry just outside Belfast commenced in 1978. It was complete within 16 months, ready for production to begin, but engineering delays and budget overruns meant assembly finally began in 1981. DeLoreans are made using stainless steel panels fitted to a fiberglass underbody. The DeLorean's design was created by Giorgetto Giugiaro. Many of the factory's previously unemployed workers had little or no experience in vehicle production, let alone of this construction type. There were reported early quality issues which led to quality assurance centres being set up in California, Michigan and New Jersey. Here, quality issues would be addressed before delivery to dealerships. These often surrounded the panel fitment, gull-wing door adjustment and higher output alternators. Despite this, the motoring media were complimentary about the DeLorean. They liked the daily driving qualities, its comfortable seats, ease of access due to the door arrangement, fuel economy and levels of luggage capacity. However, its lackluster performance was criticised, being called a Grand Tourer rather than the sports car it was supposed to be. That PRV V6 produced about 130 horsepower and accelerated to 60 miles per hour in 8.8 seconds, according to official media at least. During tests, reporters found 9.5 to 10.5 seconds more realistic, with top speeds 13 to 20 miles per hour short of the target 130. These were achieved with the 5-speed manual gearbox. A 3-speed auto was the only extra cost factory option. Standard features included air conditioning, cassette stereo system, and power windows, locks and mirrors. Dealers also offered options including body accent stripes, luggage racks and ski rack adapters. All cars left the factory uncoated or clear coated. Although some painted DeLoreans do exist, this would have been done away from the factory. During production, there were changes made to the DeLorean. The fuel filler was under the hood, so early models had a flap to enable easier access. However, after the supply of locking fuel caps was exhausted, the flap was removed. Another hood redesign removed grooves that ran down either side and added a DeLorean emblem. Other changes included moving the gull wing grab handles, minor wheel trim changes, removal of the dash-mounted digital clock after a change in stereo system, and an addition of a retractable aerial on the wing of the car. Before the DeLorean was released, it had a long waiting list, with buyers paying over the list price. However, output soon far exceeded sales volume. Its October 1981 peak of 720 vehicles sold was quickly followed by the US falling into recession. In response to the reduction in sales, instead of reducing production, John DeLorean doubled output, further adding to the inventory of unsold cars. By the end of the year, DMC had produced 7,500 cars, but had only sold 3,000. Just 350 units sold in January 1982, and by February, the company was placed into receivership. All 1981 stock was priced for clearance to make room for the more expensive 1982 model, and all 343 dealers were sent telegrams requesting each buy 6 cars to save the company. None responded. Factory production was shut down in May. Consolidated International acquired the partially assembled cars and stock and brought back the workforce in November 1982 to complete those left on the assembly line. Once these were completed, total production was estimated to be 8,975 cars. John DeLorean was arrested in October 1982 and charged with conspiring to smuggle $24 million worth of cocaine into the US. His attorney demonstrated DeLorean had been coerced into an FBI sting, and he was later acquitted of all charges, but his reputation would remain tarnished. DMC's demise cost 2,500 jobs, over $100 million worth of investments, and the British government left embarrassed by the whole ordeal. The car itself, though, made a resounding comeback in terms of popularity when it featured as the time machine in 1985's Back to the Future film franchise. But I've run out of time to talk about that as we've reached the end of the build. My main aim was to give it a better paint job than Hot Wheels had done with their Zamac premium offerings. I'd also become aware of some replica DeLorean wheels from a store on eBay, so I was set, ready for a realistic replica. Sadly, the wheels, despite being designed for this casting, are just a touch too big. But I soldiered on with the build, so let's take a look at the result. Irritatingly, from this high angle, it's hard to appreciate the low-down details of the model. I needed to get the transition right, but in the outro, I've filmed it from a lower angle. I like how the finish of the TS-83 Metallic Silver looks. As expected, its finish does resemble the brushwork of the aluminium panels on the real car. I'm most proud of that rear end. The lighting cast is excellent, and with a touch of orange and red Sharpie and some Citadel Gloss Nuln Oil, it has come out looking superb. Negatives. Well, these wheels I've covered, and I'll revisit them if I manage to get a slightly smaller set in the future. Also, the trim work isn't my best on reflection. I tried retouching them throughout, but they never looked perfect. Perhaps a decal like the front and rear badges and license plate would have been better. Anyway, all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.